Este podcast está patrocinado por Aeternum, Consultoría de Industria 4.0 y Binary Analytics, Mind the Data. Welcome back to this podcast, Icarus Venture. And this is our second episode with our guest, Natalia. How are you doing, Natalia?
Good, how are you? Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming back. I'm okay. Even, the weather here in the UK is always like this.
Honestly, yesterday there were huge storms, like in the south of the UK, and it was raining all day as well. And suddenly it's hot and it's raining, and you just don't know what to wear.
You never know what to wear.
An umbrella doesn't work when the wind just pushes you left and right.
I can imagine. Okay, so this time we're going to continue with the languages, with the perspective of how it is to learn multiple languages. So I wanted to ask you, when you speak other languages, how do you think it? Do you translate to your original language, or how does it work?
That's actually a good question. When I speak in English, I think in English.
Yeah.
But for example, when I speak in Portuguese, I will translate from Polish to English to Portuguese.
So a double
There's
translation.
There's a double translation going on, because I know that there are some things in English that don't exist in Polish, or don't exist in Portuguese. So I'm going back to my own language, to my first one, and I'm thinking, will that work? But then I usually do that in translations or in writing.
Uh-huh.
When it comes to speaking, I feel like I just improvise it. I don't care about mistakes as much, and I hope that others will correct me, but people tend, when you have a conversation, people tend to not do that,
That's something that I don't really like, that there's so many people that corrects your languages, and I don't know if it's a politeness issue or...
I get that, yeah, but sometimes when I'm learning a language, for example, when I was learning English and I went to Liverpool, and no one was correcting my English among friends or neighbors, and I wish they did, because at one point when I went to school, I made so many mistakes because I would hear them among native speakers, and you got to remember that native speakers are allowed to make those mistakes.
Exactly.
But if you learn those mistakes by heart and you don't know what the correct form is, then that's the problem. Because what if it's just a dialect? You're going to go to a different part of England, they don't speak like that, and they will look at you as if you're uneducated. I'm not saying... saying... Do you know what I mean? If there are certain... It's about vernaculars in different cities. You don't want to just learn a vernacular from one city. You have to learn the language. Of course, then you can learn the vernacular so you can talk to those people. But I think that people correcting you, I would love that if people did. Not in a passive-aggressive way, of course. No, it's oh, actually, it's this. I'll be well, actually, shut up, because I'm speaking this language for you. But if it's in a polite way.
For example, I have a huge, a stress because I learned the American way. The American English. So as soon as I get here, I didn't understand anyone.
I'm actually one of those people that if someone says something in an American way, I'll just be I'm not even from here, but I'm in the UK it's this. But that's mostly because I don't know, I've learned the British way to speak, and I think that this is the way it was supposed to be spoken, and whatever is
this is the original English.
This is OG.
Exactly.
So with American ways, it's a sidewalk or an elevator, and it's a lift and it's a pavement. You don't have to describe things so literally. And
there's in my case, for example, I learned what can I say, the New York English. So it's also difficult.
You've learned New York English.
Yeah, because the thing was that this is a funny story. So my granddad, he couldn't support my mom to have a good education when she was a girl, but my mom was always by his side. She was the manager of her business and everything, and my granddad says I didn't give you education, so I'm gonna give your kids education. So basically he paid for my education in a private school, and that private school was an American English school. So basically I have education half of the day in English and half of the day in Spanish. So I would have math in English, math in Spanish, history in English, history in Spanish.
That's
chemistry.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
How do you not lose yourself within the subjects? Because I could not do, let's say, maths in both languages. I've learned maths and physics in English, and that's how it's going to stay. I cannot do it in Polish anymore, or I could not do it in German.
Really?
To me, because it's all about the technical terms. And as far as I count in Polish and in German, in my head I'll count in those two usually. Like I'll be like raz, dwa, trzy, cztery, pięć, or like 1, 2, 3, 5. You know, but when when it comes to counting and making and doing equations, sure. But when it comes to speaking about it and actually be able to explain it, I cannot explain maths in Polish. I cannot explain any topic about physics in Polish because I simply don't know the words for it. It's the C2 language. It's the technical language that I was never taught. Like I didn't go to school in Poland, so it's all in English in my head. I can't understand how these subjects are very technical themselves. It's very impressive that you understand it in two.
So basically, for example, let's say, basically, I didn't repeat the subjects. So we will see all the, like, for example, let's say, geography. I will learn the Spanish, the Mexican geography, all the states in Mexico, and I will learn the American geography. So it was not the same subject, but it was like you said, the same terms. Like, for example, I will learn how, for example, to do calculus in Spanish, but I will do, for example, the exercises in English. So that was the way.
That would literally just confuse me.
No, and that's why I speak the New York English, because they just hire New York people. But then it become an issue. Because, you're too young to remember, but September 11th.
Oh, yeah.
So that day, for me, was a huge milestone because it was the first time I have seen... all my teachers were desperate because all their families were from New York.
Oh, yeah.
So they were not able to teach that day. I remember that we arrived to the school, and then I had my in that day computer class. Nowadays, I don't think you need to learn. You already know how to use a computer, but
technology does evolve. So.
Yeah. And they put on the TV the news, and they were like all the teachers came to this because it was the only TV available. They came into the classroom, and then they asked us to leave. And then they just called our parents that they were not able to teach. And I remember that we have like 2 or 3 days free. And then the school decided that they need other teachers from different parts, because if things like this happen again, they will need to able to. Yeah. But also
too affected.
But also it came out with it come like backfire on them. After that, so this happened when I was like in 5th grade, the 1911. And then they start hiring people from all over the world. And then I remember they hired a guy that was from Saudi Arabia or something like that. But they forgot to tell him that he was not allowed to hit kids.
Jesus Christ.
So one of my best friends, he was an ass. He was like really naughty. He is really respectful. But I remember it was like the second day of school. And then he was not behaving good. The teacher take him and slap him. And everybody was like, wow, does he really slap him? And we were, whoa. And my friend didn't know what to do. He had been always like being punished, but everything was verbally, so never physically. And we were like, whoa. So he ran to the principal office. He told them what happened. And then the principal was like, oh, how the hell did this happen? So they need to... and the parents came out after him, like, how my kid got smacked. I pay for this tuition, and then...
exactly. What the hell?
Yeah. So...
Close to private school. Get out.
So what they needed to do was... because they have an agreement with this guy and everything. So he didn't stay on the school. He still remained on the country, being paid. But he was not allowed to come back to the school. And it was so bad.
That's a paradox, to be paid but not working. Well,
and just because just
honestly, leave at this point.
Yeah. But that's why I speak the American New York. But
see, when you said New York, I was expecting you were gonna come out like with an accent from Bronx or something.
Sometimes I can get it because and also this is very racist. They only hire like the typical white male and female like beautiful people and I was like, bring the real people. And so for example and also this is something funny that I don't know if you realize it now that you're learning Chinese. Why Chinese are so good at maths?
I would say it's because their language is basically maths. It's not basically okay, that's not a good comparison, but I feel like with why good at maths, their education system is very rigorous. They spend many hours on studying. It's not just that they're born being good at maths. I have many Chinese friends that are not good at maths because they were born and raised here. and their parents are Chinese. So I feel like it has to do a lot with the education, and perhaps also being brought up with the language. It's
I don't know if you have noticed, but it's easier to add up in Chinese. It's easier to add up because the numbers itself are shorter. So in Spanish, when I think, like, for example, a 3-digit, it's long to think about it. In Chinese, you just think like it's shorter. So that's kind of when they teach me how to add in Chinese, I was like, this is so fast. But like you said,
that's just their education system. That's how they're being taught. And
and like you said, I still can. I can only think in English or Spanish. I cannot think in other languages.
English or Spanish.
Yeah, that's it. But I can, for example, when I speak Portuguese, I'm thinking in Spanish. When I'm speaking, for example, German, I am thinking in English. Because also, I don't know, how do you learn your other languages? Did you learn it from Polish? Or did you learn them from
English?
From English, all of them.
I've learned all of them from English. After Polish was the only one that I've only learned English through Polish, and then once I've learned English, everything was going through English. Genuinely, I did not learn anything based off Polish after that. Sometimes I if I'm learning new vocabulary and I'm thinking, I can't remember a word for this in English, I will try it in Polish, or sometimes I think, you know what, it sounds in my head more sophisticated in Polish, so I'll go from Polish rather than English, because I feel like we have more vocab to express certain feelings or emotions or things that are happening. I feel like that there are more, even though the dictionaries would go against me because there are more words in English. But I feel like statistically, English has more words than Polish.
Yeah.
So how? I don't know. I just feel like, it's my mother tongue, so I feel obviously I express myself a bit better in Polish, definitely. But I've learned most of my languages through English, except for Russian. Russian was learned from Polish as well, but that's because they're so close that learning it from English would have just been plain stupid. Yeah. If you already know a sister language, why are you making it why are you confusing it for yourself?
For example, so far with the other languages that you have, which one, if you need to rank them, how in difficulty, which one?
In difficulty?
Yeah, how would you rank them?
Mandarin would be the first one. It's the toughest language, honestly. It's already been 2.5 years, and I'm still on A1, definitely. Sometimes I understand, when some Chinese people will be talking, but only from Mandarin, so obviously Cantonese is different. Yeah. And if someone's from, I don't know, from Shanghai, I'm done. I'm out of here. I don't understand what you're saying. Maybe some, certain words. I can pick up certain words that they're saying, or I can read some characters that will be, on a piece of paper. But to make out what a sentence means at this point, not really. So that would be the first one. Second hardest one would be French. I feel like French would be my second hardest, but that's because, they use so many useless letters and they don't pronounce half of them. I'm thinking, I know. Such a waste of paper, honestly. So we'll go Mandarin, French, English. English was difficult to learn, but English was difficult to learn because I did not have good time learning it. When I came to the UK, I'd say bullied.
Yeah, really?
School, I was really bullied in school when I first went to Liverpool. On my first day, I had a girl come up to the table, smack the table, and say, "You speak English?" And I said, "No, because I understood what you said. I'm not stupid." Yeah. That one or two sentences, guess what? That's the first thing you learn. Yeah. Sorry, I don't speak English, so I can put two and two together. And I said no, and she said liar, and they waited for me after school and beat me up when I was 11. It was my first day in Liverpool, and I said to my, I'm never going back there again. And guess what? I got punished for it as well, for getting beat up by the school, because they believed in equality. So this country's really stupid. Equality, my ass! You have cameras outside. I was just leaving the school, and they put me in an exclusion room with that girl, and I thought, well, this is just plain stupid, isn't it? Honestly, I think they did that so you can I don't know, because we sat right in front of each other for 6 hours.
Just what?
Just they would give us work from other classes. They would bring it to that one room, and you have to sit in front of that person. My hatred just grew more and more, and I hated her towards the end of school. And when she did really bad on her GCSEs. I was really happy, and honestly, there aren't many people that I would wish bad, but for those, I really, when when I hear from my other friends from school how these people end up right now or something, it's like honey on my heart, you know. There's a saying in Polish, miód na moje serce. And genuinely, I feel so happy that they just don't make it because of what happened.
I can imagine.
So, yeah, and obviously they also spoke very hard Scouse, and that was even harder for me to understand at this point. It was just, even like the teacher that taught me English, she was absolutely lovely. Ms. Rudnati, she was from Hungary. Her English was beautiful. Okay. Her English was like, you know, the standard pronunciation.
Yeah.
You know.
Easy to understand.
The PR English. It was beautiful and it was great. And I think I had lessons with her for 2 months in one classroom. I didn't have any other lessons except for maths, because maths didn't really require English, and I was smarter than those kids for a first year. for first 2 years, because they would look like. Because for the first month I went there, they did not know that I don't speak English. Something got lost in the documents, and they just thought I was really shy and don't want to speak to anyone, when I genuinely just did not understand what was going on. I was just sitting there in a classroom, just like looking, and then one of the English teachers, because I wasn't a top set English in year 7, he looked at me, and he asked me a question, and I was just nodding at him, and he looks at me, and he comes up to my table, kneels down, he's like, "Excuse me, Natalia, do you understand what I'm saying?" And I was like, just shook my head, no. Yeah. He was like, right. And then after the lesson, he got on a walkie-talkie and got like a member of staff, and that's when I met Miss Renotti. She was like, "We were looking for you for a month." Like, do you know what I mean? I was put through hell. I didn't understand anything. Like, my English came to the fact that I could say fruit, oranges, and I thought that the plural of fruit was fruits. Honestly. So, yeah, I would say English was the third hardest one, but then obviously, after the incident, you know, I've lost the motivation to learn it. I said, I'm never going to learn English.
Yeah, I can imagine. It was a trauma.
Yeah, honestly, those people just made me hate their language. And for like next 2 years, I was very negative towards the language. I've learned it in 2 months with Miss Rudnati, and it was like good. Like, I had lessons with her till the end. Honestly, I did not need English as second language lessons like after year 9, and she asked me to, and I was like, yes, because I don't want to do RE, religious studies. I didn't want to do them, so I was like, can I have your lessons instead? Never did RE like properly. Such a boring subject as well. In the UK, they just did it. All the kids just took a mick out of it and would just mess around on those lessons. So I just had English. Until the end of times. Honestly, throughout my whole education, I had English as second language and a phone pass that I could use my phones for translations, which honestly, most kids would use it to like play on their phones. I didn't. I literally just used it as a translator. Yeah. Probably didn't use their opportunity enough, but look who got good grades.
And for example, do you think that because you learn the hard way, like the old ways, but now with this technology that you can just put your earphone and it will translate it automatically, do you think this is helping learning the languages, or is making it? Like,
I think it makes people more dependent on translators, and obviously it's not the same as learning the language. Like, my dad depends on an English translator quite a lot. He understands most of it, but just speaking is more difficult for him. So he would say something in Polish and translate it to English. He has no problems with documents from the government, with writing emails. He does it all by himself. But when it comes to like speaking and like something important, something very long, he will use a Google Translate. And I'm thinking, you know, you could just learn it, and sometimes learning it is not through translating. If you're going to use Google Translate or any other translating app or the little earphone in your ear, that just makes you dependent. You're not going to speak the language because you have something to always back down on, and it's always going to be there. At this point, you can use it without Wi-Fi as well. And
something that you mentioned, like when you panic, you feel that. I don't know if
do you panic at this point? You just say sorry, and you just translate it. You look at your phone. There's no panic anymore. That panic made me learn so much. I'm not saying that you have to learn the language through panicking, but it helps.
Like the fruits. Yeah. What's the plural? Because you have faces, and then someone laugh at it, or they say, "No, this is not going to happen again." With that
word fruit, I was in Poland in primary school, and during break time, it was for like extra credit, for like a plus, and. There was this line to our English teacher, and she would give us a word in Polish, and you have to translate it to English. And she gave me the word owoce, which means fruit. And I said fruits, because she said it in plural in Polish. We have both fruit and fruit as in, singular and plural. They're different. Like fruta, frutas. Yeah. So I was saying fruit 6 times in a row, and then the break time finished, and I was like, tell me, what is it? And she's like, it's fruit, just like singular, they don't change it. And that's how I've learned, because that's how I missed my plus in a little thing. I was like, Jesus Christ.
Just and also, for example, for me, something that I have realized is that when I learned Chinese, because I learned it during the COVID, everything was online. So I only can read the characters, but because they didn't make me write it, I don't know how to write.
Right, and with Chinese, there's always an order of how you write the strokes. So you can't just you can write them, however, but it's not going to make it easier for you. So the order of the strokes is there to help you, to make it easier.
Exactly. So I only can write on my phone. So that's... But also, I don't know if it's useful or not, because if I go to China and everything, I'm going to use my cell phone to write everything, text everyone. Like, I don't know, this quality of writing by hand, I don't know if I'm ever going to...
It's for muscle memory.
No, but I know it's important. But then I realized it's like technology is like fucking me up, because I don't know how to properly do it, because it was not needed. And I was like,
I feel it's also like very interesting to write. Like, do you not think it's fancy when you write? Well, once you learn how to write it, it looks very neat. It looks very nice.
Yeah.
But to me, it's just satisfaction of looking at it.
But the problem, I did 4 modules of Chinese, so I think I need to start over again. Because, for example, I read the characters I know them by the look. But if you tell me, draw them, no idea how to draw them. I know how to put it in my phone.
Lots of them, they look like something you can make of it, like the word he or ch, like drink or eat. I know my pronunciation is probably off a bit now because it's been quite a while, but they do look like a person being thirsty, for example, or like grabbing for food. A lot of them look like something they resemble the character. So you can do. That's how my Chinese teacher did it.
Oh, yeah.
She would like put a character on the wall, and it would have been like 7th period, you're about to go home, and she's like, and this one looks like a cat taking the flower from going out from the garden. I was like, where are you seeing this? Please tell me. Like,
put the picture on it.
Honestly, but yeah, and also it was quite funny with writing, because I'm left-handed. Whenever she was whenever I was writing, and one time she came up behind me, she's like, "Oh, you're left-handed." I left-handed. Oh. Yeah, I don't... left-handed, And she walked away, and I was like... And I've realized, obviously, majority of the world is right-handed.
No, and also I think in China, like, if you're left-handed, they'll make you be right-handed.
It used to be like that in Eastern Europe as well, because being left-handed is considered of being a witch.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they would burn you.
Yeah, they're definitely going to change your hand.
Yeah, 100%. I'm a witch, honestly. Yes, that's why I'm such a fan of Harry Potter. Absolutely. I've actually read it in Spanish, Portuguese, German. That's because I've memorized the book by heart at this point, and I've memorized the movies by heart. I've watched them so many times, and I've read the book so many times that at this point I turn the page and I know what says on the next one.
Whoa! And which one is better?
The best one for me would be... So the movies, the best would be in English. I feel, because lots of dubbings to me are not done like how I would want them properly. You can see, obviously, I know that because of difference in languages, you can see how the actors move their lips, and it does not match what they say, and sometimes it throws me off, or just the voice does not match the character. Like for Harry, I think in a Spanish version, I don't think Harry's voice matches Harry at all. Okay, that's just my opinion. Yeah. In German, I feel like Draco does not match his voice at all. Actually, Harry's voice is annoying in first movies because he's young. Yeah. So it's just not developed. But what was the question?
So which language is like the best? Like first, which one is the best movie?
English, and book Spanish. Spanish is to me, yeah. Oh, nice. That's because when I read in Spanish, I relax.
Okay.
Honestly. It's
and from all the movies or the books, which one is your favorite of Harry Potter?
My favorite, so from the books, it would be the Deathly Hallows. I love, because it's the war. I love it. So actually, the Deathly Hallows and Half-Blood Prince are my favorite ones. Absolutely.
And did you like the end result in the movies?
The end result?
Yeah.
I didn't like how they portrayed Voldemort's death. It made it look like somewhat unnatural. In the books, he just gets killed and dies like a human, which is supposed to be an irony to what he tried to be. He tried to be immortal. But in the movies, he goes like in those little black pieces in the air. Like it looks dramatic. I'm not saying it looks bad. It looks cool. It's just not what happens.
Yeah.
I sometimes don't like that they change something so... Maybe not so much he dies and that's the point, but I feel like it would be cool if his body just stayed there, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
To show that he was, in fact, a mortal human and died before Dumbledore, like in age-wise. He was younger than Dumbledore, with all those Horcruxes destroying himself. I mean, that's quite funny. He tried to live as long as he could. He could not even outlive Dumbledore. What did Dumbledore do to be like 100-something?
Yeah, he was super
He was
old.
super old.
Yeah.
I think it's just he was relaxed about everything, honestly.
Yeah, he always like, everything's under control.
Oh, of course
Harry.
I didn't tell you, Harry.
I forgot.
Yeah. Oh, there's this deathly tournament. Go, it's fine. The rules in it.
And I'm reading your name.
Harry Potter. Dumbledore said calmly.
Yeah. Okay, so we're talking about the books. We're talking about the what else can we talk? And this is a question. When you dream, in what languages do you dream?
English, surprisingly.
Is it?
Yeah, it's mostly. I think it depends who I dream about. If it's just dream about me, I usually dream in English because I go to sleep surrounded by English environments. Also, I speak to myself in English a lot. If I'm trying to find something, I'm like, where is this bloody wallet? Where did I put it? I speak to myself in English. And then sometimes like a little bit in Polish, or like I have to put some angry emphasis in things. Actually, I speak to myself in a lot of languages, but I dream in English. What about you?
It also, like you said, it depends on how. When my mind is in chaos, I dream in German.
You dream in German?
Yeah, when I'm so stressed, I don't know why. But it's funny because my mom tells me that the first time that she figured out that I could speak English was when I was in 3rd grade. Because I had my first teacher that didn't allow me to speak Spanish at all in his classroom.
Mm-hmm. I love those kind of teachers.
Yeah, so he will make... He was that kind of teacher that he will play the guitar, tell you stories, but he would be like, you would be afraid of him because he could be really nice. I remember
one of those. Okay.
Yeah, so I remember one time, like the first time we did our exams, we got really low grades, and he shows like an impact thing. He said he took like the biggest high bill in the Mexican currency. He took it out of his wallet and he told us, you know what your family is doing, what your parents are doing. He just like this and threw it to the trash, and we're like, this is doing with your education. This is what you're doing with your education. That was so like, so intense. But then I was so afraid of him, and I was like, I need to speak English, and I was so stressed that my mom told me that I slept on the car coming back from school to the house, and I was sleeping talking, but I was speaking English. I was so afraid that I started.
Jesus Christ.
Yes, and at the end he became my best teacher ever. He taught me so much things, the pronunciation.
Of course, he taught well. But...
And guess what? He stayed in Mexico, like he got a wife, and now he speaks only Spanish. So it was but yeah, and and usually when also I mix the languages when I dream, depending on
people you dream or situations.
No, so the plot depending. So it can start like simple in Spanish and then suddenly escalate to English. But yeah.
Once, I had a dream. I was speaking in Polish to a person that did not understand Polish, and this whole dream was so confusing. I woke up and I've texted her, and I was like, did it happen or was it a dream? Because you just looked at me like, huh? And I swear to God, it's been like hours. I know dreams last about like a few minutes.
Yeah.
But that was just so freaky to me. When you wake up and you think, did it happen or did it not happen? I hate those things. I don't enjoy them.
Yeah. Do you have any like dream that they have like made you like so anxious?
I guess yeah. Like recently with the moving to Portugal, have a lot of them. It's like, but that's just projecting from what's going on in real life. I feel like because I think about those things before going to sleep, and I think, do I have this? Do I have that? Is this going to be ready? How will I get there? What will I do there? How like, getting the residency card, getting this, getting around with transport. So I say I'm not stressed with those things and I don't care because you know what? I'm not stupid, I'll figure it out. But at the same time, it is there at the back of my head, the closer it gets. And I feel like a lot of things are going wrong suddenly. And I'm just like, why? So then I do get those like anxious dreams. And it's like, you'll wake up in the middle of the night and you're like, seriously? Now? Like, did not have a better time to do it. Like,
just
never.
questioning yourself.
No, honestly, I'm questioning myself at this point. Like, why is it happening? And I know it's projecting. If you went, because, when you have anxious dreams, it's probably because you're anxious in real life. If you have a bad dream, not certainly a bad dream, but like something uncomfortable that's happening, it's probably because you're not comfortable in real life or, something happened that day. They usually links. It's just your brain, isn't it?
Yeah,
just making up scenarios.
Yeah. And how do you manage to go back to sleep when you have this type of dreams, or you cannot go back to sleep like directly?
It depends. It depends. Once I wake up, it's very hard for me to go back to sleep. Yeah, genuinely, same. Unless it's morning. So unless I have to wake up for something, then it's very hard. If I have to wake up,
how much do you sleep like? In a normal,
okay,
because I know that you have your work and everything, so your sleep pattern must be like really short.
Yeah, so my work used to begin at 7 a.m. So for those, it was very horrible waking up at 6 or 5:30, and but I would go earlier. I would go to sleep early because after a few times of trying to sleep for 5-6 hours and it didn't work, and I felt shit for the next 6 hours of my shift. I thought, I got my 8 hours of sleep. This is the minimum I need, is at least 8 hours. If I don't get my 8 hours, I'm cranky. The good amount of sleep is, I feel like, it's 9.5, 10. And people will say it's too much, but you know what? It makes me energetic. I get my 9-10 hours of sleep, I'm fine. On the contrary, when I'm very excited for something, I only need like 2-3 hours, and I'm like, let's do it,
Okay. And what was the question? I forgot. I forgot it. It was something to do with sleeping. At what time do you usually go to sleep? Like late or?
Late. I'm a night person. Suddenly my whole energy just wakes up at 8 p.m. And I start my day. Like the energetic, the cleaning, the packing, the doing things. My creative side wakes up very late at night. Right. Even like playing games. Well, I love playing Sims. And I've been playing since I was 8. And usually I cannot like wake up and play a game. I cannot like do it in the afternoon. It has to be at least like 6-7 p.m. Preferably 8, and I'll stay up till like 1-2.
Okay.
I
remember what I was going to ask you. Do you drink energy drinks or do you drink coffee to keep you awake during like?
I don't drink energy drinks. My heart is very weak. Yeah. I have some heart and like blood. In the past I had some problems with it. Also, I'm very asthmatic, and drinking energy drinks just gives me huge chest pains.
Really?
So I've had an energy drink once, and I had the biggest chest pain in my chest. Yeah. And then I thought, where the hell did I have it? It tasted disgusting. I don't understand why people have them. I hated coffee, but now I like to have some. But I'll just have like one shot, a latte. It's mostly milk. Yeah. And I'll have that. But if I have it like every single day, my hands will get very shaky and I get very stressed. So I don't have coffee that often. A lot of the time I'll have a coffee decaf. So it's like, because my friends will say, how come you're in brew, you're in a coffee shop every single day? Yeah, a lot of the time I get a decaf cafe, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It doesn't have caffeine then. I just like the taste of coffee, which I know a lot of people don't, but I really like it.
Nice. Yeah. And for example, now that you're gonna speak Portuguese all day long, how are you gonna practice your other languages?
Well, I'm going to have German and French still at university,
okay.
So I will still have those lessons. And Polish, obviously, will talk to my parents, because the second I don't reply in 2 minutes, they think I've been kidnapped by terrorists and probably like blown up or something.
How often do you talk to them? Like every day?
We'll text. We don't call every day, but like send memes or like reels. My dad sends me a lot of Facebook links. My dad, if I don't reply, it's like, okay, she's definitely alive. Like, my mom, she texted me the other day. I've replied 2 hours later. She informed the whole family, have you talked to Natalia? And my dad was like, when was the last time you talked to her? And she was like, this morning. And my dad is like, like, and like, just, do you know what I mean? To my dad, it's like, he will call me once a fortnight to be like, oh,
are you okay? Yeah,
it's like, you're alive, okay, so you don't talk to your old father anymore, great. And I'm saying, that's not, I was just a bit busy, you know, but no, I like to talk to them, like, I would say once a week, FaceTime, but then our FaceTimes are like an hour, 2 hours long.
That's good.
So, yeah. But texting, like, quite often.
That's good. Yeah, because I was wondering how because your languages are so alive right now. Like I told you, my languages have died because I don't have anyone to practice with them. So my German.
What language you want to? Oh, you're German.
My German is dead. My well.
You can speak German with me.
But no, but it's so rusty right now that I will say like, what? Bitte?
Yeah, I get it. Bitte?
Yeah. My French, I don't speak with anyone. And I don't know, in Mexico it's so difficult to find people like you. Usually, I don't know why people think that, because even though we're next to the US, but like 90% of the population doesn't speak English. Because our educational system doesn't include them. Only the border states that are on the top and the ones that are in the beach are the ones that speak English. So most of the population doesn't. So, yeah, it has been a challenge. Okay, so do you have any other advice so we can close with this podcast? How can people learn more languages through other languages?
That's a really good one. So, for example, if you speak Spanish, it's going to be very easy for you to learn Portuguese. It's going to be very easy to learn Italian. I would go with those because then when you speak Italian, you can learn French. I would say, yeah. Or if you speak Spanish, learn Catalan. Then from Catalan, you can definitely learn French. And it's like, this pattern, it goes on and on. From French, go learn Luxembourgish. Or, you speak English, learn Dutch. From Dutch, then you can learn German. And this cycle continues. It's going to be very easy to learn Dutch from English. Because Dutch is half English, half German, just like put together and sounds a bit funny. Then you can learn German very easily. The grammar will be quite similar to Dutch. The pronunciation will be different, but a lot of words will be similar, like Wasser, water. So that way, Polish, learn Russian, learn Slovakian, Czech. If you learn languages from the same groups, suddenly you're multilingual just because you know your like mother tongue. So for English speakers, it's a bit more difficult, isn't it? Because they're in a Germanic language of group languages. Yeah. And still, for an English speaker to learn German would be very difficult. The pronunciation is harder. The grammar is different. I feel English speakers have it quite difficult to learn languages, not just because it's an international language and it's expected to speak English. And, you come to this country and if you speak English, they're like, well, yeah, welcome to England. But it will be very difficult for them because what connections can they make with other languages? It's really difficult. Not many languages have the same vocab, the same grammar structure. So actually, I don't want to say I feel sorry for them, but I somehow suddenly understand them in this moment.
Yeah, and also because everybody speaks English. They don't have
They don't have the they can say una cerveza por favor, actually una beer or something, and they'll be like please. It's like in a Spanish accent. And you're just like right. Yeah. Okay, buenos dias, and it's like, right, cool.
Yeah, they don't even try.
They don't try. I feel like some, especially like the older generation, I feel like they tend to mock other languages.
Yeah, they think like they need to learn the English.
But I'm sorry, if you came to Spain on holiday, imagine a tourist from Spain or Mexico came here, went to London, it was like, perdona, ¿puedes me ayudar? It would be like, oh, ayúdame. No one would understand you. They're just like, sorry, I don't understand you. Suddenly, like, you go on a holiday to a different country.
I met a guy that was like that. He was a Mexican, and he in the hotel that I used to work, and then he just came like that. He speaks English, but he wanted to make the joke. So he just speaking like, una cerveza, por favor, and the people in my... Okay, bring Alan. I come and I speak to him and then he told me like, I know how to speak English, but I just love their faces when they don't understand. And I'm like, I get it, man. Yeah.
God, it usually happens with French people. When I worked in a restaurant in Switzerland, they would come into the German part and they would speak fluent French. Now I understand you, but why is this the first thing you're talking about? You're in the capital of Switzerland, which is a German-speaking part. I have no responsibility to speak French to you. At least say good morning to me in German. Ask if I can speak French. Just look so pretentious, look up at me and all order in French, and I'll just be like, Entschuldigung, du bist in der Schweiz. You know, like, you can, I mean, yeah, you're in Switzerland, and they'll be like, the East speaks, the West speaks in French. But I'm sorry, okay, well, you're in Switzerland, in the German-speaking part, please respect that, you know what I mean? I feel like French have the superiority syndrome.
Yeah, the syndrome.
About their language is so romantic. It's so like, you know, you gotta speak French, but it's like, sorry, I mean, you can say I don't speak this language very well, just admit it, and then I can try to speak French to you, but then you try and they get very defensive about, that this is not how you say it, it's a un.
This raised me another question. For example, when you're speaking, because this has happened with me with the French, so if let's say there are two people speaking in French, and then I come in, and I don't speak French, they will not change to English.
No.
So everyone can understand what we are talking about.
I feel like maybe it's a cultural thing. To me, it's disrespectful. I mean, yeah, finish your conversation in French because you don't want to just switch in the middle just because someone came up, but then start, you know, talking in a language that the other participant will understand.
Yeah, I'll try like to, if we're speaking in Spanish and then someone comes in and they don't speak in Spanish.
Yeah, usually in the restaurant I worked in, me and my manager were speaking in Polish. And the second, like, someone would walk past that didn't speak Polish, my manager would switch to English, and I would speak it, and we would speak in English. The person would walk away back to Polish. It's just so, I don't know. It's just to feel that you're not excluding them or like talking about them or
you're not talking about them back.
You know, exactly. Yeah, like, you know, in a workplace, I was not a fan when people that did speak English spoke in their own language next to me or to my face, or would look at me and speak Italian, for example. And I really didn't appreciate that. And once I got from my coworker, well, learn Italian then. I was like, right, yeah, because it's a me problem that I can't understand what you're saying in Wales, in Italian. It was like, well, you are working in an Italian restaurant. I'm like, it's Pizza Express. How much, like, I'm sorry.
How Italian is this?
How Italian is that, you know? Don't embarrass yourself and your ancestors. They would probably not be proud of it right now. So I really don't like that. When people continue their own language or speak to you in their language when they know you don't understand. It's not going to make me feel bad. It just makes me think you're a prick.
Stupid.
You're stupid. Yeah.
And have you been a language teacher yet?
Yeah, I did. I did tutoring for German, for English, for Spanish. Yeah, I did.
And how do you feel it? Do you like it?
So I like it I like to teach it to the people that choose to learn it.
Yeah.
As I said, I taught kids for their exams. They did not want to learn the language. I had a kid that didn't want to learn German and was forced to learn German. So it was very difficult because he did not even want to do the work I would assign him. He would sit there. I literally tried everything, engaging with, I would ask what you like, and then I would like make the slides about it because, you know, those were online, they were during COVID. I literally tried everything to like make it work. At one point, the parents gave up and said it's a me problem. And I was like, right, it's not the kid's problem who's not passing any single exam. He was like, you know, we're paying you. And I thought, you're paying me in a Polish currency, which in England it's nothing. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, we agreed to it, but you paying me is a bit of an underestimate for someone. Like, I'm a native speaker. If I lived in Poland, I would have had to charge
miracles.
You know, it's not a miracle. Your kid doesn't want to learn it. Like, your kids, like, I can show you the recordings from our lessons, and I did once. And the mum was like, yeah, clearly he's just not interested in your lessons. I'm like, how is that my problem that he's not interested? You know, I've tried everything. I've tried to make German all about football.
Yeah.
Or like all about the characters from LOL or whatever.
But those are the parents that blame. They say like
blame the teacher.
The teacher, yeah. It's not my problem. I raised him good, but you're not raising him.
Like, just because he's not talking back, he's not engaging. One of his eyes is literally closed. Do you know what I mean? Like, or like he would come in and be like, yeah, hi, I'm going out like in an hour, so can you make it quick? Okay, did you do your homework? No. It's like, right, so how can I move with what I prepared for today if you did not do what I needed you to do to be ready for this? Now I'll have to explain what you didn't do, lose that's going to go for another one, and your mom's going to blame me that you didn't pass a test for next week. Yeah. You know, I feel like kids, this threw me off. This is what I really wanted to be a teacher, but then I realized a lot of kids are discouraged from learning languages specifically.
Yeah, it needs
They're
to come
not interested.
From them. Yeah, they need.
It needs to come from them. So that's why I would rather be a teacher for 17 and up for sixth forms, or even better for universities. Even though looking at my classes, 4 people out of 34 show up. And I'm just thinking, like, you're paying $9,500 to not show up Like, do you realize each class is about 80 quid? Oh my God, when I've calculated that, I was in every single one of my classes.
course,
and I was
because
like,
it's disgusting.
this is expensive. But yeah, so I don't know. I feel like, now I'm saying that uni students would engage. I feel like the students that engage the most are A-level students and IB students.
Yeah.
Because this matters.
It matters.
It really, really matters. A-levels and IB, they really matter for uni and for your future, basically. And then you get to uni and you have a bunch of adults that they're like, one is hangover, one didn't want to be here. One is eating, the other one's on his phone. And what can you say? He's paying to be here.
Yeah.
So maybe not, but I did enjoy teaching. It was just, like, I was teaching adults. They were really engaging. They were always ready. I had a lady that wanted to learn Spanish. It was really nice. It was really comfortable. She loved it and she was always prepared.
That's good.
So that was great. I really liked it. It was just like talking to a friend at one point. But with kids, it was really difficult.
Oh, that's nice. Okay, so thank you very much.
Thank you so
Nat.
much.
This has been an amazing experience again, and thank you so much. I hope
you so much.
we can do the third time. Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.